Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, wherever you are in Africa. My name is Samuel Godefroy. I'm a professor of food risk analysis at Laval University, and I have the privilege to serve as the president of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society. Happy New Year to you all, and on behalf of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, I would like to express our gratitude to the African Union Commission as well as to the National Food Safety Authority of Egypt, the two organizations that have inspired the creation of the African Food Regulators Forum for the opportunity given to us to facilitate the organization of this first virtual event. Without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Tarek Al-Houbi, Chairman of the National Food Safety Authority of Egypt and co-chair of AFRAF, to open the meeting. I would like simply to mention that interpretation is available to Arabic and to French. Please choose the channel corresponding to the language of your choice. And without further ado, Dr. Tarek Al-Houbi, Chairman of the National Food Safety Authority of Egypt. Dr. Tarek.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning and good afternoon, dear colleagues. I am pleased to see several of you present at the first virtual meeting of African Food Regulatory Forum, AFRAF. As I inducted in my correspondence to you, convening this virtual meeting is an expression on our part of reiterated our commitment. I am following up on our collaborative effort to enhancing the food safety governance in Africa. We wish to leverage what we achieved during our meeting in Cairo last October in 2023. We also wish to prepare for the possible second face-to-face event meeting before end of this year, 2025. We'd like to, however, to use this opportunity to work together with the development of the area of collaboration that we already initiated. Our forum can certainly serves as a catalyst for the African food regulatory cooperation and the continued development of the foundations of African continental free trade area. Once again, thank you for your support and cooperation, and I look forward to our exchange during this day. Sam, floor for you.
Thank you, Dr. Tarek, and thank you again for your leadership and for your support to the African food regulators community. Unfortunately, we were informed that Dr. Amari Ayaliu, the representative of the African Union Commission, has been unable to join us for technical reasons. However, we will be proceeding with this meeting. As was indicated by Dr. Tarek, the idea from the organization of this virtual meeting is really to continue the momentum that was initiated with your collective support in October of 2023. And to continue building the effort of food regulatory cooperation as indicated by Dr. Tarek Al-Houbi. Again, our efforts and your efforts as the food regulators of the continent is to continue the contribution into the food safety strategy for Africa. But again, as was indicated during the first meeting of AFRAF, the AFRAF, so the African Food Regulators Forum, is meant to serve as the General Assembly of the soon-to-be operationalized Food Safety Agency for the continent. And as such, will be a key contributor to the continued development of the African continental free trade area. Now, hopefully, we will agree based on the input that we will receive from you on a number of areas where you would wish these virtual meetings that will be convened during the period of 2025. So the areas of collaboration and engagement that you would like AFRAF to be launching or to be supporting. The Global Food Regulatory Science Society is merely an enabler. We are a non-for-profit organization, as you know, that contributed with the leadership of the African Union Commission, with the leadership of the National Food Safety Authority of Egypt, that contributed in helping the operationalization of the first event. And we are very privileged and proud to continue this journey with you. Now, we have a proposed agenda, and this is what I would like to start sharing with you right away. So if I can ask colleagues to show the agenda for the meeting. We will keep these meetings tight, and really the idea is really to take advantage of your participation, and we know that you have a busy schedule. So what we will start with today is, of course, to have a reminder to all about what we have achieved in 2023 and really the outputs of the first face-to-face meeting, the launch meeting of AFRAF. Subsequent to that, we will be discussing some areas of engagement and collaborative activities. Some of these, in fact, were discussed during the first face-to-face meeting. And what we would like, in fact, here is to open the floor for your input to prioritize some areas where you would like these virtual meetings of AFRAF to focus, and ultimately they can shape the agenda of a face-to-face meeting that we could plan towards the end of this year. So there we will have an engagement session where we will ask for your contribution and your input. And then we will finish this meeting by some suggestions for a future date, at least an approximate timing for the next virtual meeting, potentially in April of 2025. So that's what we have in terms of the agenda planned. And we will start now with the review of the achievements of the 2023 meeting. I would like to invite now Dr. Amin Assouf, the Scientific Director of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, to share a brief outline of the report of the first face-to-face meeting of AFRAF. Dr. Amin Assouf, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Sam, and thank you, Dr. Tariq. Allow me to review with you, esteemed participants, today a summary and a review of the summary report of the first inaugural meeting of the high-level senior food regulators of African food competent authorities, the African Food Regulatory Authorities Forum, AFRAF, which was held last year in the new administrative capital in Cairo, Egypt. In fact, we will go through the main outcomes and the expectations of the participants that were collected through a questionnaire that was launched during and after this forum and this meeting. And participants expressed their expectations as follows: to strengthen food safety awareness amongst policymakers in African countries, to support networking and collaboration amongst African food regulators, to support discussions and recommendations related to policy development, to enable to share experiences between food regulatory authorities, to foster harmonization of food regulatory frameworks at the level of the African continent, and to offer solutions to common challenges and issues related to food safety and regulations. As well, participants expressed their expectations as for the African Food Safety Agency. They are expecting and waiting from this AFSA agency to enhance capacity building and training of food producers and regulatory bodies in Africa in areas related to food safety, of course, helping Africa align with global food safety standards and to streamline regulatory processes, collaborating with other organizations and technical working groups within Africa, identify priorities, challenges, and opportunities for food regulatory authorities to help resolve common food safety issues, and the trade facilitation of food and agri-food products within Africa and with international market. As a conclusion for this very important first inaugural meeting, this meeting allowed the adoption of the Cairo Declaration, establishing the Africa Food Regulatory Authority Forum, the AFRAF. This meeting enclosed discussions on initial input to a draft charter for this forum, aimed to support the governance of the membership and operations of the AFRAF, and agreed to further discuss this charter until its adoption at a next or a future virtual meeting. Some comments were actually collected also regarding this charter. They recommended, as a conclusion, to use AFRAF as an engine to foster the development of food regulatory cooperation between food regulators and Africa, supported the Africa Food Safety Agency, offering the scientific support and expert advice needed, and requested the African Union Commission to support member states to fully operationalize AFRAF and AFSA without further delay. At the end, please allow me also to showcase the website for AFRAF, which is you can connect to through or via afrafforum.org. In this website, you can find meetings, announcement, and proceedings. You can find press releases. You can find governance, AFRAF Charter, the Cairo Declaration. So if you allow me at the end of my presentation, I will just go quickly through the website, showcasing all the elements of the website and where you can find the information. So as I said, afrafforum.org. And we will lay on this homepage. Then we can have access to news, to meetings, to governance, and how to contact this forum through an application, an online application. If we go to meetings, we can find access to all meetings. Our meeting for today is already announced on the website, and you can have access to the first inaugural meeting. In the inaugural meeting, I hope you can still see my browser page. We have all the information of this inaugural meeting, and most of all, we can have access to the full summary report. We have some videos highlighting all these effects, and we can still have access to all documents and materials that were shared and discussed during the first meeting. In addition, You can have access also to the charter or to the draft charter and to all comments. So for transparency, you can have access to all comments that were shared and summarized here related the first draft of the charter. So thank you so much for your attention, and going back to you, Professor Sam.
Thank you very much, Amin, for this overview. I would like simply to add maybe a few comments vis-a-vis the charter and the next steps that were discussed during the first meeting on the governance of AFRAF. If you recall, there was a commitment to discuss and agree on this governance structure. At the same time, we were made aware of further development in the operationalization of the African Food Safety Agency, with discussions underway under the auspices of the African Union Commission vis-à-vis the governance of the agency. One positive development was that the statutes of the soon-to-be created African Food Safety Agency already acknowledge AFRAF, the African Food Regulators Forum, as the General Assembly of the African Food Safety Agency. So essentially, this forum is already acknowledged within the structure and the governance of the Food Safety Agency at the continental level. And given that the governance of the agency will be an area and a matter of discussion between yourselves, between African competent authorities, with the African Union leadership, it was found that the best course of action for us, for AFRAF, not to settle on our governance, on the governance of this forum, prior to seeing where the agency is going to be going. And this will ensure that there is full alignment between the governance of the African Food Safety Agency and the governance of AFRAF, AFRAF being created to serve the agency as essentially a representation of the member competent authorities of the member states. So this is why, at this point in time, we have elected not to discuss these governance issues, but nonetheless, and thanks to the leadership of both the African Union Commission, but also the leadership of Dr. Tara as the proponent of this forum, in discussions that took place with the leadership of the Commission, but also with some of the regulators that were engaged, it was found that it is useful still to help us operationalize this forum and still to make this forum work as a vehicle of communication, as a vehicle of collaboration amongst the regulators in the continent. So perhaps before we move to the next part of the agenda, which is really now, after we discuss the past, to discuss the future, what we would like to do with this forum, we could open the floor for some of you to make any comments or to ask any questions. And of course, Dr. Tare, at any point, as the leader of one of the leaders of the AFRAF and the current co-chair, please feel free to intervene at any point.
Okay, Sam.
So I don't know if there are any questions or any comments. If there aren't, I mean, feel free to use the chat and feel free to intervene at any point as well. If not, we will proceed, with your permission, Dr. Tara, with the next item on the agenda, which is really to discuss the areas of collaboration and to open up the brainstorming part of this meeting.
Okay, let me interfere here, Sam, please, since the audience haven't any questions. So I can submit one question, general question, that is, what is the idea from the audience for next physical forum, which we are going to planning to arrange in the by end of this year. What is the subject? What is the scope you need to focus on it? So just open question, brainstorming with our colleagues here, and by end of this virtual meeting, you can select the 2-3 topics which are going to work on it together during the last 2-3 months, just to prepare ourselves for the next meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. Tare. In fact, actually, we will take your question. Your question will be at the heart of the brainstorming session that we will try to facilitate with the Slido, with an electronic means, such that basically colleagues can input some information and we can record the information. So with your permission, if I could actually do a very short introductory presentation or a short introductory presentation to this brainstorming session. And then indeed, we will open that for some suggestions as to the key topics, not only for the virtual meetings, but also for the face-to-face meeting that we hope to organize by the end of 2025.
Please.
So with your permission, I'm going to try to share a very short presentation in this regard. So again, if you recall, again, this is what we embarked on doing, AFRAF being really an enabler for sustainable and resilient food control systems in Africa, with the definition of food control system extracted from the Codex text, CXG 82 2013, being the collective actions and activities in place to manage specific food safety hazards, assure quality and safety of food, and fair practices in the food trade, practically the mandate of every regulator who is present here. Now, of course, in order to achieve that, collaboration amongst regulators is a crucial component and a crucial enabler, and that's what we hope for AFRAF to be. AFRAF being an enabler for this collaboration, an enabler to achieve 2 key objectives that the continent has set to itself: the Food Safety Strategy for Africa 2022-2036, and of course, being able to support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and with food and agri-food products being major commodities to be benefiting from this free trade. Now, when we discussed during the first meeting what we wanted AFRAF and the potential for AFRAF to help do, basically we said that this will be an enabler for the operationalization of the African Food Safety Agency. And this was acted upon with the inclusion of AFRAF and the recognition of AFRAF as the General Assembly of the agency. It was also recognized that AFRAF, based on your input, will be a vehicle to promote collaborative initiatives. Basically, there is a recognition that resources of competent authorities are limited. Therefore, we could use AFRAF for resource sharing, for experience sharing, and even for work sharing. And we know that capacity building is a costly endeavor, and having collaboration in building capacity in food safety and food safety regulatory capacity will be important. Now, what we would like to do right now is through these virtual meetings to identify, as Dr. Tara indicated, some areas of priorities to support the collaborative work of African regulators. What type of priorities that could help us create the synergies that we aim for? Of course, in doing this, we need to make sure that we do not duplicate efforts. Rather, we want to leverage and we want to complement existing collaboration. So, for example, we will not use AFRAF for areas related to Codex work because there are other mechanisms such as CC Africa and other mechanisms that are led by the African Union Commission to support such collaboration. On the contrary, we want to build on that. We want to complement it and enhance it. And of course, anything that the operationalization of AFSA will require from AFRAF this forum could be able to organize and support that. And this is, of course, coming from the recognition that building capacities, and particularly building capacities in risk analysis-driven decision-making, is a costly endeavor, and it's something that takes a long time, and therefore working together will help us reduce cost and also maximize the impact with a smaller or shorter period. So this is essentially what we want to now open the discussion for. We would like to open the discussion on what are the priorities that you see, even though we discussed some of those, again, at the first meeting. So what are the areas where you think this forum could help achieve for you and for your colleagues? Areas where we know that they are resource intensive. We know, for example, that a lot of food applications, food safety applications, require attention from regulators. There is a high level of change requiring continued vigilance. And there are areas where your national capacities is certainly limited in its resources to be able to cover everything. That's why having collaboration will be useful. Of course, as we said, we will avoid any duplication. Anything that is covered by an existing mechanism will remain covered by that existing mechanism. These are some of the examples that we put, taking these examples from your own suggestions in October of 2023. We mentioned capacity building initiatives in risk assessment, and particularly in risk assessment competency development. This could be an area that we can start and that we can try to find the funding mechanisms to support us getting in this way. Looking at how the competent authorities in Africa can study and address emerging developments in food applications, particularly those that require your attention to evaluate their safety and efficacy. So the example that comes to mind is the development of the various disruptive technologies, all the new technologies that can be used in food safety and for which regulators are asked to give their opinion, their oversight. How are they going to be assessing it? How are they going to be regulating it? And this could be an area where we could have awareness raising and we could have a discussion about how the collective work in Africa could be organized around these areas. Of course, there are areas that we know there's continued interest, food additives, food contact applications. I believe that there isn't a week that passes without a regulator around the world taking a decision. And the idea is to see here how, from an African perspective, we could organize ourselves in order to take advantage of each other's resources, each other's expertise in this area, but also to benefit from efforts of collaboration, coordination, and even harmonization that has been underway in the African continent, particularly under the leadership of regional economic communities. And of course, we know that food is innovating, food industry is innovating everywhere, and that includes the African continent. So how we can ensure that African food regulators can continue to play the role of an enabler to innovation that is developed in the continent and outside of the continent. And as any forum that brings competent authorities together, this also could be a forum where we can maximize the learning from each other's experiences. Many regulators in Africa are embarking on ambitious transformation, food regulatory modernization, and the opportunity to learn from each other could be maximized through this forum. So now, actually, I would like to move to the discussion part. And to facilitate this, I'm going to rely on my colleague, Dr. Eli Bouyazbek, to potentially use a facilitated mechanism through an application, Slido. So if you can actually use this QR code on the screen, if you can access the website and potentially maybe having already your initial input on the three areas presented here, which I actually were mentioned during our first meeting, but also that I presented earlier, and asking you to rank them. So this is really proposing a ranking of the first proposal related to capacity building. So this is strengthening risk assessment capacity, support the development and benchmarking of risk assessment learning initiatives. And this is really with the intent to help when the agency will be ready, we will try to get more experts to participate in the work of not only food competent authorities, but also the African Food Safety Agency. So capacity building and risk assessment is number one, learning from African regulators' experience and supporting knowledge sharing related to the assessment of safety and efficacy of food applications. So we'll leave you with a few minutes to continue the vote. So far, I believe we have only 4 participants who voted. If we can, more of you. There are 25 attendees that are registered, so we're hoping we're going to give you a little bit more time to do this. Eli, the number indicated on the screen means the number of people connected, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So we have 5 voters. So we would like at least to have maybe half of you voting, if at all possible. We have 25 participants so far. So if you could have half of you at least voting for the results to be significant. If you can please connect. Eight participants voted. I'm gonna try to reach the magical number of 13. So 10 voters. We'll maybe give it a few more minutes. Anyone else is able to connect? So essentially in the vote here, you're asked to rank, to put 1, 2, 3 for each area. So to rank these proposals. And we have reached the magical number of 13. So I'm going to consider that the results are significant. And based on at least the 3 areas that were proposed, there seems to be really a consensus around the capacity building and risk assessment. There seems to be also, as a second element, really exchanging experiences and learning from each other, and not very far behind, having the support to knowledge sharing related to the assessment and of safety and efficacy of food applications. So this is for the proposals that we put forward. Now, we would like to open, like Dr. Tariq said, having you express your opinions freely. And we're going to move to the next poll. And the next poll, again, using the same QR code, the same connection, asking you yourselves now, free ideas to identify areas of priority action where you consider AFRAF to be a vehicle of supporting collaboration between African food competent authorities. So here, feel free. It can be risk assessment, it can be inspection activities, risk-based decision-making. It can be modernization of food laws, harmonization of standards, as you indicated. And feel free as well to use the same points that may have been proposed by some of your other colleagues, simply because then we will have a weight of the ideas that are proposed. So So far, one proposal. We're going to wait for you to have maybe more colleagues participating. So 2 participants are typing. How can we program official control based on risk? Capacity building in general. Harmonization of standards coming back, expressed in different manners. Yes. Risk assessment is increasing, which is good. So it's really also a reiteration of the points that were made in the previous discussion. So we continue, we have 7 votes. So platforms, integration, digital food safety, inspection, innovation, food traceability amongst things that are mentioned. I see Roderick with the hand on. Feel free, please, to intervene. Roderick, if you would like to take the microphone, and I will ask colleagues who are controlling the room to just enable Roderick. I mean, I saw hands on, so I don't know if that's still maintained. While other colleagues continue to vote. So digitalization to facilitate import-export. An excellent and very interesting topic, actually. So far, we continue to have other colleagues voting. So risk assessment seems to be growing as really an area of importance. Capacity building in codex communities, a food alert system is proposed. Science-based standards is also proposed. Risk categorization of manufacturing facilities. We'll get 2 or 3 more contributors. How can we program official controls based on risk? I think we mentioned that. So on-site testing, I see as a new proposal. Surveillance systems. Rapid alert of food and food alert systems. So these are, it's the same topic that is basically mentioned here. We have 3 more participants typing, so we're going to let them contribute as well. Inspection in general is also being proposed. And we're almost reaching 1 other participant to get a final vote, and then we will open the floor perhaps now verbally to allow you to make your interventions. And there is a question about where to vote. Basically, in this case, it's actually we need to type. So if you enter the QR code here that is presented, then you basically you scan the QR code, you will enter a web page, and this is a free style writing. So this is what we have. Now, I think we have 17 participants. And the themes that seem to be very important: risk assessments, clearly. We have rapid alert systems or food alert systems. So essentially any type of early warning systems. Capacity building is important. Harmonization of standards, codex capacities, etc. I believe this is, of course, going to be the topic of other forums, whether be it ARSO in Africa, whether be it also, of course, the African Union Codex capacity program that is being handled. But again, I mean, we'll take these on as part of your suggestions, and I would like now to open the floor for any verbal interventions. Colleagues. Any verbal interventions, any comments, any additions beyond what was shared so far?
Sam, please allow me to interrupt here.
Please.
All the topics which already submitted by our colleague, but for me, I'm interested to have a clear technical regulation, clear standards regulation for the African Continental Free Trade Zone, which is coming soon to implement. So we need to and this is also related to our proposal in last forum in October 23. We talk about the African Food Safety Agency, which I think, as we discussed before, going to present in next meeting for the all African leaders in Addis by Feb. So I believe we need to focus in this chapter since it's coming soon. So we need all of us to be in the one page, one table, to share, discuss, to see what is the weak, what is strong, how we can support each other, how we can share experience and knowledge related to this topic. We cannot hear you.
Sorry, see, it's the habit of forgetting to unmute. Sorry. So I think, Dr. Tariq, these are great suggestions. And in fact, your suggestion has inspired me a proposal that we can make to our colleagues. As you indicated, I think, the work is underway in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the SPS chapter of this, and of course, all the rules that will govern the way we will be working together to harmonize African technical regulatory requirements and so on. So perhaps we could suggest to have an update from the Secretariat of AFTA, so the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. A lot of work is underway. Just actually having an update from the Secretariat on where they are going and how also this forum could contribute to the food regulatory harmonization in the continent. So this is, I'm going to take this as a suggestion that we could act upon as part of our future virtual meetings of AFRAF. So thank you for that proposal, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you, please.
Any other suggestions from colleagues? Anybody would like to take the floor? And by all means, you can speak French, Arabic so far. Unfortunately, we don't have Portuguese yet as part of the interpretation systems, but we are offering interpretation to Arabic and French so far. Okay. I'm not seeing any hands being offered right now or any interventions. We're going to interpret silence as an indication of oh, there is a question. I'm told that there is a question, so I'm just going to check. There is an open question. Training on food additives used. Okay, so this is so the notion of additives and actually the work on food additives. So in fact, actually, this is great. The topics of risk assessment, the topics of food additives can constitute really areas of priorities. And this is already an indication for us of the path forward that we could build upon for the upcoming virtual meetings. As we said, our objective is not really to make these meetings very long for you. We were hoping through this meeting really to kick off and to recreate a momentum of this forum, to have a re-engagement, having you propose some areas of focus for the upcoming period, and we will aim for the upcoming period to act on those during the organization of future virtual events. Now, actually here I'm seeing, other colleagues sending even some private messages about the areas of priorities, including electronic certification, and capacity building certainly comes back a lot as part of the areas of priority. I think with this, we are reaching, we are 10 minutes ahead of the end of the meeting, but if there are no more interventions, and given that we got already quite a bit of input through the electronic mediums, that's what electronic mediums help us do. We can get the information quickly. I don't know, Dr. Tare, if you would like to say a few words to contribute to the closing of the meeting.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for all of you. I believe that this AFRAF forum is a window for the transferring knowledge, experience between us. I think next meeting, which we are going to do in April. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. In next April, okay.
Yes.
We need by mid of March to have I don't know, you are IT professor, so we can prepare a form. I don't know how will be questionnaire topics again. What is the emergency question? What is the planning for the next ideas? For me, just I write down here that is also the main topic for the novel food. Novel food is coming soon, but we need to be ready. For example, in NAFSA in Egypt, you are working now in modified food, vegan food, as well as we work together with Professor Sam about product free of gluten. So we need also to see how is this portfolio going on in across Africa. I hope to see you, all of you, in next forum. In I don't know which months will be. We are going to decide, and I don't know will be in Egypt or in another country. But during this year, we are going to decide. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for your team. Thank you, my colleagues, regardless from Cairo.
Thank you, Dr. Tare, for your continued leadership. I know that we said that these are closing remarks, but I see that two of our colleagues raised their hands, and I would like to give them your permission.
I open the channel again.
That's okay. I think, given that we have more time, with your permission, I would like to give the floor.
Please.
I believe Dr. Yusuf Gwango, if I'm not pronouncing the name incorrectly, please feel free to take the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. And so first of all, I would like to present myself. I'm Yusuf Gwango from the Mauritius Food Standards Agency. And I have heard a lot during the meeting about harmonization of our regulatory framework particularly in view of the African Free Trade Area. So what I would like to share, rather, it's not a question, but sharing, because I have been working on the Mauritian food legislation, the Food Act and the food regulation since 2017. And the new Food Act and the new food regulation are already promulgated and proclaimed since last year. And this new legislation is harmonized with international standards, particularly mainly Codex standards. So it will be a pleasure for me to share my experience that I have been through the past, I would say, 8 years going through the drafting of the legislation and all the different processes. And along the way, I was working in a team where we have been also given the responsibility of coming up with the Mauritius Food Standard Agency, where I was involved in the drafting of the legislation. And I am pleased to say that I am actually at the head of the agency, and the agency is have already been operationalized since April last year. And it will be a pleasure for me to share my experience all the way through how we proceeded with the updating our legislation and also setting up of the Mauritius Food Standards Agency. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Youssef, and we will definitely take you up on your offer, and I think we would definitely benefit greatly. I'm sure colleagues on the line would appreciate learning from you the experience that you went through, and actually also compare this experience with other countries that are either considering or have considered a similar path. So thank you very much for that offer. Dr. Udo Dan Madu, I'm sorry, I'm not if I'm pronouncing this correctly, so please take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me just stand on the existing protocol. I am Udo Dan Madu from NAFDAC in Nigeria. I just wanted to highlight the fact that I think that traceability is also one of the things that we should look at, especially with the free trade zone opening up right now. It's important, especially like Dr. Tarek spoke about novel foods and GM products and all of that. So it is also very important for us to add traceability to one of the things we should harmonize on time so that we'll be able to, trace where products are coming from and where they are going to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Udo, for your comments. And last comment I will take from Dr. Abdelkarim Moujani from Morocco, please.
Yes, thank you, Sami. Thank you, Dr. Tarek, and thank you for all persons that organizing this important virtual meeting, which is, I think, one of the important meeting of the AFRAF, because it is organized in the new configuration of AFRAF, which is right now adopted that General Assembly of the future African Food Safety Agency. So I think that this point will be for us and for me, in my opinion, the main important switching point that we must or we had to integrate in our interaction between different legal authorities or competent food safety authorities in Africa. So I think that in the next meeting, it will be suitable to discuss the importance of the actions of different food competent authorities in this body, which will be a technical body and also deliberative body. So it will be the decisions will be important for the future of the agency. So I think that the discussion of the charter, the discussion integrating the fact that all competent authorities are not in the same levels in Africa. So we must integrate this fact and make some programs of capacity buildings, perhaps some enhancing the the capacities of, or making in the same line, in the same situation, all these African authorities in food safety. It is my first point. And the second point will be, I think, that one of the main important function of the General Assembly, which is AFRAF, will be to shape an agenda for collaborative initiatives in Africa. So I think it's one of the main important points that AFRAF must take into account and begin to making a situation, what its initiatives are important for AFRAF, and I take it into for the declaration of Sami regarding, for example, that AFRAF will perhaps focus in different areas and especially for risk assessment, but not for standardization, for example, because there is CC Africa, for example, which is in charge of this item. So I think that, I don't know, perhaps that that AFRAF will have an important role to gather all initiatives in Africa and make a position on that, and perhaps make a proposal to enhance all activities regarding standardization, because AFRAF will touch for all items regarding food safety. So I think the two main important points that I can propose in this virtual meeting. Thank you, Sami, and thank you, Tariq, and all colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moujani. And again, I think actually, I agree with you that at the end of the day, we will be taking not only your advice, but also the direction from the African Union Commission as to the way you would like to steer the work of AFRAF in a manner that serves you and serves your needs. I said it's the last point, but I see one last hand raised, and I would hate to finish without offering the opportunity for Dr. Roderick Dade, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Samuel, and greetings to Prof. Tariq. It was nice being part of the first meeting in Egypt. Professor Samuel, for you to remember me, I'm the gentleman who said hello to you at the Codex Alimentarius Commission meeting. I think you were descending down there, and I said hello to you. So greetings from Ghana. Priorities for us is the issue of harmonization, and then also the risk assessment. And then I also side with other contributors, the aspect of training. So I understand that not all institutions may be on the same level in terms of capacity. So one of the things that Ghana, we have a center that also helps other African countries if they have some training needs on regulation. It's something that we do to also push our own image, as well as encourage ourselves, because we are Africa, and Africa must be seen to be able to hold its own. And so for me, I would just like to stop here to say that these three things, the risk assessment, and then harmonization, training, should be good. And I am also excited that we are holding this program after our first meeting. I started doing this. So more grace to our elbows, Professor Samuel, Professor Tariq. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the blessings as well. Blessings to everybody. I guess with this, I think we have reached definitely, additional suggestions and recommendations. I will adhere to what Dr. Tariq has recommended, which is essentially to summarize the input, but also to issue a questionnaire to further document your suggestions, your recommendations, and we will be aiming to meet in April, towards the last week of April, another virtual meeting. We will suggest a timing, hopefully that will be suitable to everybody in this regard. I would like to mention that today's meeting was attended by delegations from Egypt, Ghana, Zambia, Sierra Leone, Mauritius, the Seychelles, Morocco, Lesotho, Kenya, Burundi, Gambia, Nigeria, Togo, Namibia, Cabo Verde, and Madagascar. So we're very, very fortunate to have so many of you join. Thank you very much. And again, we're going to wish you a great continuation of the day. We wish the great success to AFRAF and meet you in April, and we'll be in touch in order to shape the agenda later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.